Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or the guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Dawn Melanie. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of my series, Managing Self. Today, I'm going to do things a little bit different than I have in the prior episodes. Pretty much nothing is scripted. I'm just, I guess as we say, shooting from the hip. I'm just talking today. This is, I guess, a more raw version of me. And I guess I also want to say the softer side of me. I don't know if I can be as upbeat as I usually am, but nonetheless, I thank you again for joining me today for Managing Self. Hopefully, I can encourage you all as I record the show and as you listen, and I can encourage you all to be proactive with your own self-management of your multiple sclerosis or any other chronic illness or just any aspect of your life that you're dealing with. Me specifically, I'm focusing on my managing of my multiple sclerosis for the past 20 years and counting. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with my show here, one thing that I do often give emphasis on as far as my management, I consider it my successful management of my multiple sclerosis, are a few key elements. And that is I attribute my success to using or employing these key elements daily or as often as I can into my everyday life. One is fitness. I do try to work out on a regular basis. I'm a former competitor that is a figure competitor. I like to describe it as bodybuilding with a softer side, or shall I say bodybuilding, muscles and heels. I've done, over 10 years of shows where I actually compete with, displaying an athletic feminine body. However, wearing heels, high heels, and the whole doll me up makeup and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little ironic, or I kind of call it tongue in cheek because it's not, or it hasn't been the norm. Actually, today I look at social media and there are several people who are competing and doing things of that nature with their multiple sclerosis diagnosis. So I don't consider myself the forefront. However, I started competing back in September 2002, so over 16 years ago. And another fact is my last show that I competed in, I got back on stage after 4 years, and I won. I just wanted to see if I could do it anymore, but the twist on the last show was I had to use my cane because I was having, I believe, 4 exacerbations, and it was like back to back to back. I couldn't walk. I was the typical, I won't say typical, but had characteristics that many of us know people with MS have. The instability, oh my gosh, my drop foot was very severe. I don't think I could have pulled that off with the heels without the cane, but I had drop foot. I couldn't even pick up my right foot, and the tremors and things like that. So I got back on stage with all these complications that I was going through. And it was the first time in 10 years, literally almost 10 years to the date of my first show, that I guess everybody knew at that point. I let it be revealed that, guess what? I have multiple sclerosis. So that was kind of I would say a weight lifted off my shoulder, but a weight off my shoulders. But I was almost cathartic, if that's the right word. But it was cool. Let's just say that. No, it's funny. I'll tell you how good it felt to return to the stage after not being on the stage for 4 years. But the most interesting thing is 4 years prior to that show, I had an exacerbation on stage. It was a national level show in Vegas, and again, classic MS symptoms or classic MS interpretations by the when I say the layman, I had an exacerbation. It was so hot I couldn't. Well, it caused a flare up. I couldn't move the right side of my body. I couldn't walk, and long story short, everyone thought that I was drunk, which I don't drink. So, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is preposterous. Why would I spend all these hours in the gym working out and dieting and making sure, fine tuning my body for presentation purposes, to drink alcohol, something I don't say irresponsible as far as my competition prep, that wasn't in line with my goal that I had in mind. So I understand it, and this was this was 2008, July 2008, and at the time I was upset. However, I've learned to be kind of twisted and turn that sort of interpretation of what MS is for someone who doesn't know. That is different for each of us. I've since turned that around to I use it as an encouragement. I own it, and if someone's like, are you drinking, or you had too much fun, I just use it as an opportunity to share with them what MS is. Tell them multiple sclerosis is this neurological degenerative disease that affects many things: our balance, our sight, hearing, speech, bladder functions or bladder control, sometimes even sexual dysfunction. So I use that I don't want to say ignorance, but lack of knowledge as an opportunity to enlighten them and share with them just what MS is. If they want to ask further questions, I am definitely most happy to further elaborate on that. So that's how I turned that around. So I don't get upset about it. If somebody thinks, oh, she's tired and she must be, I don't know, she didn't get enough sleep last night. No, I get 10 hours of sleep a night easily, and I'm still going to take a 2 or 3 hour nap later. So it's okay. I understand that people make judgments and they don't understand. So trying to let that get under my skin, like I said, just kind of flip it around and use it as a positive opportunity, like I said, to help them understand what MS is, and also to help me to not stress out over it and to use it as an opportunity to share. Likewise, I know that I've heard several times, and I'm sure many of you out there today listening have heard this as well. You're doing something, or maybe you parked in the handicap parking spot or something like that, and someone may make the uninformed comment, why are you parking there? And you may go on to, you don't have to. By the way, you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. If somebody says, why are you parking there? I always go ahead and tell them, but, and then they'll go, but, I have multiple sclerosis. And it's funny, it's only happened when it's like, gee whiz, it's like summer temperatures in upper 90s, real feel about 105 or 107 degrees here in North Texas. And like, seriously, dude, if you only knew the half of it, how difficult it is, how much of a challenge it is for me to get out of the car, to get into the blazing sun, and to get into the establishment that I'm headed toward. But nonetheless, I've learned to keep my cool more or less about it, and I'll tell them, they're like, yo, but you look so good. I used to get really upset about that. They will look at me, especially if it was competition season, or I'm getting ready for a show, and they're like, man, but you look so good. I used to get upset about that. I thought that was, I'm like, oh gosh, how insensitive, or how ignorant can these people be without even wanting to learn my whole story. So instead of getting upset about that and getting my panties in a bunch, again, I flip it around. So I'll say, I know, or I'll say something very sarcastic like, damn right I do. And they look at me, and then I can tell they want more, because I'm like, that's all I'm going to give you. If you ask me more, I'll give you more. But yeah, you're damn right, I do look good. And yeah, I am parking in this handicap spot because at this moment, I do need a little push or assistance so that I'm not weathering or battling the extreme temperatures that I know heat affects MS probably nine out of 10, well, maybe 7 out of 10 exacerbations or flare-ups that I've had over the past 20 plus years has been related to heat and or stress. So, I'll go in and tell them, then sometimes they may, it's funny, they may have the audacity to go, oh, yeah, you're like one of those Jerry's kids. No, I'm not. Those kids, or the quote unquote Jerry's kids, are people affected by muscular dystrophy. Muscular dystrophy is a degenerative muscular disease. Yeah, I said progressive. Yes, a degenerative muscular disease, whereas multiple sclerosis is a degenerative neurological disease. So, whereas the people affected by muscular dystrophy are affected, their muscles are affected. My muscles are fine. My muscles are fine. They're strong. They're good. But where I run into issues is when when I run into issues is when multiple sclerosis rears its ugly head. And what I mean by that is, first of all, multiple sclerosis means many scars, and it's scars on on the nerves, and some I think some on the spine, but the nerves and the brain, but basically the nerves, the nerve coverings or the myelin sheath. I've heard anybody still smiling, but the myelin sheath gets I would say ragged or scarred, kind of like an electrical wire that's been frayed. So if an electrical wire is frayed, the conduction of the electricity from the AC or wall outlet, there's going to be some issues there. You may have some, what do you call that, fracturing, or I don't know, the sparks that may come from the outlet, because the connection isn't good. All the signals aren't being transmitted 100%. Some are getting thrown out into the air, and hopefully, hopefully you got a surge protector on, I guess, at that point. But for me, with my multiple sclerosis, because if I have any active MS activity or lesions, well, it can affect a number of functions that I mentioned earlier. I tell people, I say, okay, fine. I mean, I look good right now, but if you could have only seen me, 3 months ago or however long ago, when I couldn't walk. I mean, I still can't walk a straight line, but I mean, when I say I couldn't walk, I've had difficulty where my drop foot was so severe, you could just hear me kind of clunk it down, coming down the hallways. And this is without a heel. It was more severe with a heel. There's been a time where I couldn't even pick my right foot up to transition from the gas pedal to the brake pedal. So you can't drive like that. And I'm like, that's kind of that's not good. My right hand has locked up several times. I mean, when that happens, well, you can't really hold anything. If you do, it's probably going to fall on the ground. There's been a time where I can't feel my hand, where I've cut myself and can't feel it. Again, all things that may happen, may not happen. I've lost my vision. I couldn't see anything in my right eye. My hearing, I've lost that 3 or 4 times. Several things like that. So, as I'm telling the person or persons who are making the inquiry, they usually say, oh, okay. And at that point, again, I use it as an opportunity to tell them more and go ahead and expand upon that. Now, you guys may be wondering, man, why is she so somber today? I think oftentimes I record pretty, I want to say mellow, but yeah, I'm quite somber today. And like I said, I'm not nothing scripted, because I'm just sharing with you guys, just shooting from the hip, or shall I say from the heart. I'm often upbeat, and I'm not as upbeat as usual. Let's just say that. I don't want to claim any of the negativity that I've been experiencing, because that's not going to do me any good. Processing or intake of negative toxins, especially stress, and trying to process it, I know that's not good for me. I can tell you the definite major exacerbations or flare-ups that I've had due to stressful situations. So I know that's not good for me. So you know, I was sitting here, I was thinking, not sitting here, but earlier today I was thinking, I was like, man, oftentimes we hear people say, they're wanting something to change. Like, man, I'm waiting for the change. Well, nothing's going to change unless you make it change. I don't know if you heard that, if you're doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. So how can you expect anything to change? That's what I'm kind of experiencing right now. Regarding the MS, let's see, this is, say 20, 30, today is 20, today makes 22 days that I haven't been on a disease-modifying therapy, which is actually a long time for me because usually I'm on the money as far as dates and times of taking my medication. But I've had to change my medication because of a serious brain disease that I'm at a higher risk of developing now. So right now, this is the first of 4 or 5 months that I won't be taking any disease-modifying drug. I'll be honest, I was a little skittish about it, but I'm not really worried about it because I don't think I need it. And I believe if I continue living a healthy lifestyle, I'll be just fine. So, yeah, I'm not taking anything, but I really don't think that I need it. So that's kind of bold on my part, but I think there's importance of like say mind over matter, and I sure do hope that in 3 or 4 months when I go get my MRI again, it'll show that there's been no changes. That I'm stable still, even without taking a disease-modifying drug. I'm looking forward to that day because, like I said, people often want to change or want something different. It's kind of funny. I don't want to change I don't want to change with my MS right now. I mean, I've been stable for over 8.5 years on the past medication that I've been taking, um, and I'm good. But if there is, I just want to encourage you all out there listening that if you do feel that you need to make a change, maybe your medication isn't delivering the most positive results for you. Maybe you still feel like you're lagging, or you know, it's not slowing down the progression. Maybe you have like a ton of new lesions. I know whenever I've changed medications, I've changed only because, well, I've changed in a combination of two things. There was there was a clear evidence on the MRI readings that I did have more lesions, and probably they were also showing that they um, had MS. It was MS active. Pardon me. It was reflective of active MS activity. So when they put the contrast in you, the gadolinium, it lights up blue on the MRI reading. So that was flashing. It was flashing holes in my head here, and but that doesn't mean that I'm going to have any any physical attributes or difficulties with MS. So I only switch medications if I see, okay, there's new lesions, it's active, and also this may explain why I've lost my hearing just recently. It probably was, all related to that. But also looked at my lifestyle. Am I stressing out about something? Work, personal life, something like that. Maybe I need to hone it in and kind of chill out and don't give it so much energy. It doesn't deserve as much energy. It's negative for me. Oftentimes, I'm going to say it again. There is no stress-free life. All we can do is strive for a stress-less life. So, I know that there's no sense in me worrying about things that I can't control. And why is because my health is number one. And without my health, I don't have anything. So, people say, oh, what do you want from what do you expect from your, let's say, what do you expect from your disease modifying drug? If you are taking one, if not, understand. And I tell people, I say, well, first of all, I want to be happy. I'll be honest. Selfish, I don't know. I want to be happy. Joy, happiness is a wonderful thing. Life is a wonderful thing, but if you don't, I think that if you don't have your health, it's really hard to be happy. Yeah, that's my opinion. Mobility, something I would like to retain my mobility and my autonomy. just doing things for myself, not to be a burden on anyone, any of my loved ones. If I get to the position where I do need a caregiver, I don't want to be so dependent on a caregiver. That sounds weird, but I'll be honest. I'm a pretty independent person, so I don't want to be a burden on anyone at any given time. So, you know, so that's me in a nutshell. I want to be happy. Simple as that. With MS, without MS, married, not married. Um, you know, so many things. These are all real life issues. But bottom line is, I do want to be happy, and I know that if I encounter something that's not promoting my happiness, which I equate to my well-being, because me being happy is me being stressed less, not stress-free, but me being stressed less. And we all know stress is not good for MSers because it leads to, oftentimes leads to an exacerbation or flare-up. So every one of my flare-ups have been related to stress and or heat. So if I identify anything like that nature that is negative to my forward progress, I need to eliminate them, because it's not worth it. I know I'll just speak on I'll speak on from my point of view. I know that I've been reluctant to make changes. I'll tell people I'm such a boring, predictable person, but that's just because it's easier that way. Oftentimes, it is. It's easy, but unfortunately, that's what our brains train us to do, because our brain has us to resist. Our brain makes us resist change. When are you gonna start that diet? Next month. No, wait. No, next year. Yeah, I'll start January 1st. When are you gonna start going to the gym? Yeah, but I'll do that next month. Next week I'll start. We want things. We want things to change in our lives, but we oftentimes just don't do anything about it. We delay it, and like I said, our brains want us to delay it, and want it resist change. And my point of view, from what I've learned, and I'm still learning to this day, with multiple sclerosis. Okay, over 20 years been dealing with this. Changing medicine. That's really important. Changing medicine with multiple sclerosis. People oftentimes talk about the doctors telling them what to do. I say that's when I kind of counter that with, like, hell, my doctor didn't tell me what to do. I tell my doctors what they're going to do. And I say, this is what we're going to do. I look at my doctor. I look at my doctors as a professional consultant who has gone through a lot of medical training and schooling and things like that, who's very well qualified. However, my body is mine, and I'm my own self-advocate. So I never see my doctor tells me what I'm going to do. Usually I get informed of different angles, or his or her opinion, and we come to a mutual conclusion. Well, it's my decision. You just have he or she just has to sign off on it. I like to say. So today, like I said, I'm just talking. This is raw. This is nothing scripted. But as far as managing yourself, or pardon me, as far as me managing myself, my multiple sclerosis, proactive. The ball's always in my court. Um, if I return the ball, it's going to be I'm not going to return it just to slap it and try to get it over the net. I want to get it to where I want to score a point. I want it to be effective, and I want to make it count. So again, I encourage you all to, do research, do whatever research, ask questions, write down your questions. I know I forget mine sometimes when I get to the doctor's office, but write down your questions, address anything like that, any changes. I'm not a medical professional, but there's something to be said about when they ask any changes. What sometimes we think that's silly and trite, but how are they supposed to know if there's any changes if we don't communicate that to them? Just saying. I'm learning that. I'm talking from managing myself with multiple sclerosis, but I see this is also important in relationships. How can we one party know what the other person's thinking if they don't communicate and share that with them. So it's important to communicate and with your medical advisors as well as your relationships, whether it be your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, parents, friends, whomever. It's important to communicate with that person. I've heard that phrase "mind over matter." That's what that's my take on the next 3 or 4 months not being on a disease modifying drug for multiple sclerosis. I'm looking for my mind to be stronger than the matter, and kind of like what I mean about this is I'm going to ignore, kind of like I said, the brain wants us to resist change. I know that. But in those situations, sometimes we have to ignore the brain and move on and to have forward progress to get what we want. That's kind of my take on how I'm approaching these next 3.5 months, 3 or 4 months. I'm going to just basically not focus on the mental snapshot. Like, if you're not taking a disease modifying drug, your progression of MS is likely to increase. Well, I'm not going to buy in on that. I'm going to say my mind is stronger than that, and I don't need it. So that's how I'm approaching the next 3-4 months. I'm just going to use my fitness, continue to work out on a regular basis, and also eat healthier. Eat healthier than I do currently. When I say eat healthier, I'm talking almost no processed foods or things like that. Pretty much junk food, which that's hard. But I want to make sure I'm giving my full effort to my project. I consider myself my project. So I'm managing myself, and as Maya Angelou said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. This applies to my managing myself with multiple sclerosis, and I'm most certainly in the upcoming day, hours, minutes, weeks, months, years, I intend to employ this way of thinking very, very wholeheartedly. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. This is Dawn Melanie. Thank you for listening. And I want to encourage you all out there today to go ahead and give it a try for a week. Just think of some things that you can do better at. Try your best. But when you things come to light and I can say that, the light is shining upon the evidence, react to that or respond to that, shall I say. When you know better, do better. Simple as that. Again, Dawn Melanie, I thank you for listening, and hopefully I'll be a little bit more upbeat next week. But I appreciate your patience for me. Like I said, not scripted, just real talk here. Have a blessed day, and hope you'll join me next week. Thank you.